Hi, it's Tim here, and this is the second video about the steps in the future-proofing guide. And if you'll recall, these are short little videos where I'm giving a summary of some of the things that we've talked about in our live Zoom calls. And it's related to this guide, 7 Steps to Taking Control, Doing What You Love, and Being Valued in an Unpredictable, Unforgiving World, which certainly seems to be the world that we're currently living in as we work through this pandemic. So first and foremost, I hope everybody is safe, taking good care of yourselves, taking good care of the ones that you love. We will all get through this. So in these videos, in the Zoom calls, I'm working with a group of people, and we're having conversations as we go through each of these 7 steps. And the first step, just to remind you, was what is really about taking ownership. And I labeled it as committing 5% to building your own platform. So that this notion of the platform of yourself, the platform of me. And basically, I want you to think about it this way. There's 100 more or less productive programmable hours in any given week. How are you choosing to spend them, and what are you doing specifically to advance your professional development with some portion of that 100 hours? And it's about being deliberate. It's about having a game plan. And that brings us to step number 2, which is developing, monitoring, and maintaining your weekly heartbeat. The best way to think about step 2 is basically about what do I need to do, what kind of routine do I need to put myself into such that I can, week in and week out, advance my important work, not get too distracted with all the things that are around me, so that I can execute on my vision of what I'm trying to accomplish for myself and in my life. And so this notion of having what I've called a weekly heartbeat, I use a week because it's a very good time length that is reasonable for us as humans. In a week, you can actually do a fair number of things. You can start or maybe do a first version of a document, of some programming, of your web page layout. There's a number of things. A week is a fair bit of time in terms of if you are focused and trying to accomplish something. But it is a short enough time that if a week or 2 goes by without really advancing the important work that you want to do in a 90-day period of 13 weeks, you've still got a few kicks at the can. So the week is all about it's short enough that you can actually recover if you have a bad week. It is long enough that you can get something substantive done. So a month, I believe, is much too long. If we only sort of check in with ourselves every month, there's an opportunity where you don't get any work done because you lose a month. That's an awfully long time to lose. On the other hand, a day is a little bit too granular, and days can be full of distractions and full of a lot of what feels like loose ends. You might be working very hard, but not really advancing anything. So the week is, for me, a really nice period of time where there's enough time to accomplish something significant against your goals to move your vision forward. What we do in our community, the Free Agent Collective, is we have something that I call the One Big Thing, and you get a notification of this on the Sunday, and basically the question, what's your one big thing for the week? The idea here is that rather than have, here's the 12 things I'm going to try to do this week, and we all have these kind of endless to-do lists, is to try to theme it so that it actually has more of a focus in your brain. So instead of saying, these are the 15 things I'm going to try to do with my, related to my web page, you probably want a theme that says, publish my web page by the end of this week. So that's going to contain a whole bunch of to-do items, and you might even find some new ones as you go through the week. But it's a nice thematic idea, and it tends to help you sort of continue to keep your focus on the bigger things rather than get carried away in all the day-to-day minutia of making that happen. So in our community, we share the one big thing on a weekly call, on a short weekly call on Sunday afternoon. And really that's to put it out there so that we now feel more accountable to the community. There's a much greater chance I'm going to focus on it if I've shared it with my fellow members in the community. And now I feel, I really probably should put in an effort and make this happen. We do a quick check-in on Wednesday just to see how it's going, see if we can help, see if we can process any issues that are getting in the way of accomplishing this. And then at the end of the week, we ask ourselves, how did our week go? And essentially we collect the data in what I call a traffic light report. So this is a very simple bullet point email that I send to myself that says, here's what was green. Green are accomplishments I did. Here's yellow. These are things that I was working on, but for whatever reason I'm struggling a little bit. Red are, if it's red, it's time that I really need to put my hand up and ask for help, or I need to change the actual objective. I'm just not making it happen if it's a red. So that's the notion. And once you start to do those things on a regular basis, you get into the rhythm of, and this is what I call the weekly heartbeat. Now, what you're doing is you're identifying at the beginning of the week, what is the one important thing that I really want to get done? What's that one big thing that is important to me? And it should obviously align somewhat with your 90-day game plan or your overall vision. Somehow it's a step along the way. What's the thing that I'm going to try to get done this week, and move that forward, and then having that, putting that out there, and having that sort of front and center in your mind, so that when you're getting distracted by Facebook or by, endless notifications of emails and things like that, at some point you kind of pull yourself back and say, whoa, hold it. How am I doing against the thing that I said was really big, that I really wanted to accomplish this week? And so that routine and sharing that in the community, or, in whatever community you've got, or with whatever support group you have, helps focus the brain and our commitment to those things, and it helps to get that done. So that's the second step in the future proofing guide. So the first step is really about taking ownership and identifying what it is that you want to be doing, how you're going to use those 100 hours a week that you're given. The second, which we've just gone through, is the weekly heartbeat. Says, now if I put this routine in place, I'm now going to more often than not be doing the important work that moves things forward for myself, vis-a-vis where I want to drive my career to, or drive my professional development. So those are the first two big steps in the 7 steps. And in future videos, I'll walk you through the other steps. What was interesting in our call was that, and we spent a good hour sort of diving into that and talking about how to make that work, and sharing some stories about it. And everyone absolutely agreed that, it's really critical to have that sort of a routine in our world today, because there are so many distractions, because our attention is constantly getting hijacked, and and if we're going to get the work done that we really feel we need to get done, we have to take ownership of our attention, and we need these kinds of things. The one big thing, the weekly heartbeat routine. So hopefully that is helpful, and I'll come back at you in another week's time or so with the third tip after we do our weekly Zoom call. And if you download the link to the future proofing guide that is below this video, you will automatically then be notified of future Zoom calls, and you can join us live. And just to reiterate, those Zoom calls are not being recorded, because I really want to stress the live nature of the conversation. If you want to get in and participate, that would be absolutely welcome. Show up, participate, and we can have this conversation, and we can learn from each other. So thanks very much for your attention, and I look forward to speaking with you again in about a week's time. Thanks very much.